Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a book haul. And I'm very excited. I actually counted the amount of books that I have for this book haul right before I started filming, and I believe I should have 52 books here. This is quite a big book haul because the last time that I did a book haul was right around my birthday time in January. So since then, I have hauled so many things. I've actually bought so many books recently, and so I'm very excited to jump into this book haul. So let's get right into it. So I thought I would start with some of my recent book of the month books that I've picked up, because in the month of February, I ended up getting 2 books from them. One of them is Famous Last Words, which this one is a thriller that I've been so excited to check out. I actually wasn't the biggest fan of this author's book that's called like Wrong Place, Wrong Time or whatever that one was called, but this one sounds a lot more intriguing to me. And so far I've been hearing mostly good things from people that have read this one. And then I also picked up First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This is a romance book that I've been highly anticipating. I'm actually going to be reading this one very soon for my Screaming Color readathon because it has pink on the cover. And this one has been compared to Sleepless in Seattle, which has definitely piqued my interest in this. And then for the month of March with book of the month, I ended up picking Wild Dark Shore because how could I not? I was so excited when I saw that they had this book as a monthly selection because you might recall last year I read this author's book Once There Were Wolves, and I was so obsessed with that book. Like, it ended up being in my top 3 favorite books of the year. So you could definitely say this is one of my most anticipated books of this year, and I am so excited. I'm actually hoping to read this one in the month of March. And this book does feel like it's going to be similar to the other books that this author has published because it seems like it's one of those like slow burn literary mystery kind of stories. And like that is just everything that I'm in the mood for these days. Like, I'm so excited to read this one. And then, okay, this one might seem a little bit random for me, but you know, book of the month, they have this thing where like if you're a BFF with book of the month, which just means that you've received 12 or more boxes from them, and you get the chance to choose a book of the year finalist for free. And I was like, I mean, I've already read most of the finalists because there's only 5 finalists. I've already read most of them, and then some of them I had absolutely no interest in. So I decided to get Phantasma as my book of the month finalist. And look at the back, it's kind of cool. They put this like special design on it because it's a finalist. Isn't that cool? But yeah, anyways, this might seem kind of random for me, and it definitely is. But you know, I got the book for free. It was like a free add-on because it was a finalist. So I was like, why not just give it a try? You know, I am gonna try to push myself outside of my comfort zone a little bit this year with the things that I'm reading, but I believe that this one is a fantasy. I think it's a fantasy romance actually. And I don't even know what kind of fantasy is included in this book. It looks like there's some kind of competition. It says a competition where contestants rarely escape alive and the victor is granted a single wish. And the only way for her to save her sister is to win. But Phantasma is a cursed manor full of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms. I don't know, man. I mean, it sounds like something I might be interested in. It is a little bit lengthy though, but maybe this will be something that I can try later on this year. You never know. Okay, and then next up, Atria ended up sending me so many books. I swear, Atria is just the best. They are always publishing some of my favorite books. One of the books they sent me is We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen, which you might recall I just read this very recently in a reading vlog that I can have linked down below. And I was really looking forward to this one because I have enjoyed a book from this author before. And this book is a story about 2 sisters. Almost this entire story is written in suicide notes that this sister is leaving behind for her family. And obviously this story is very heavy, you know, like it deals with a lot of very heavy subject matter, but it just didn't really work for me personally. They also sent me a copy of Julie Chan is Dead, which this one is a thriller that is going on sale April 29th. I am so excited for this book. It sounds so interesting. It's about this girl named Julie who has this twin sister named Chloe who's a popular influencer. But it says when Julie discovers Chloe's lifeless body under mysterious circumstances, she seizes the chance to live the life she's always envied. And so it's kind of about how she's like transforming into her twin sister and essentially taking over her life, I think. Which just sounds, you know, very fun to me. I don't know. This one's a debut thriller and I'm really excited to check it out. They also sent this one called Backhanded Compliments. This one is an arc that goes on sale June 10th. And oh my gosh, I am obsessed with this. Like, look at how cute the cover is, first of all. It's 2 girls that are tennis players. It says a steamy sapphic romance with a fantastical twist about 2 bitter tennis rivals who realize they are reluctant soulmates. Oh my gosh, does that not sound like everything? Okay, because after Challengers, you know, that movie that I'm absolutely obsessed with, I'm like, give me all of the tennis romance. I don't know what the whole fantastical twist thing about this book is supposed to be. Like, I have no idea. I am so intrigued by this one. Like, oh my god, I hope that this book is everything. And then Atria also sent me an ARC copy of All the Men I've Loved Again by Christine Pride, and this one is an ARC that's going on sale July 8th, so it's coming out this summer. This one sounds so fun because it says that this is a solo novel in which a woman grapples with fate and romantic destiny, thinking she has moved on from a love triangle in her 20s until both men return to her 2 decades later, forcing her to choose between them again. And so the story kicks off in in 1999 when this character has arrived in college, and it sounds like we're gonna get some backstory on this love triangle in 1999, and then 20 years later, they're both back in her life again. Like, that sounds so messy. I feel like sometimes when a love triangle is done right, it can be like one of my favorite things. Like, I eat that shit up. And then Atria also sent a paperback copy of The Other Valley, which this one has a different cover than the one that I'm familiar with, but this is a book that I was really interested in reading, especially at the end of last year, because I believe that this one was nominated in the sci-fi category on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and so that's where I had first heard about this one. I don't actually know too much about this one plot-wise. On the back here it says, "To the east is the future, to the west is the past. If you were permitted to cross the valley's borders, which direction would you go?" What? That sounds so interesting to me. And after I had heard about this one last year, I instantly had to put it on my radar because I was like, that sounds so unique. And then they also sent this one called Time Loops and Meet Cutes, and this one is an arc that I have. It's going on sale May 6th. This one says it's a unique love story about a woman reliving the same Friday over and over and the intriguing man who can't quite remember her, which, like, I immediately wanted to check this one out because I do love romance books that involve time loops. I just think that's so cool and so fun, and apparently this author's published a few different romance books. I don't think I've read any books from this author yet. And then possibly the two most exciting things that Atria has sent to me recently. The first one is this one called My Friends by Frederick Bachman. This one is an ARC copy that they sent me. This book's going on sale May 20th, and like, oh my gosh, I could not be more excited about this because Frederick Bachman is an author that for the most part, I really do connect with his writing. I mean, I was a really big fan of Beartown and Anxious People, and I don't know, there's just something about his writing style. It's like he could be talking about the most mundane things, but he could make it very interesting and very heartfelt and very wholesome somehow. It says this is an unforgettably funny, deeply moving tale of four teenagers whose friendship creates a bond so powerful that it changes a stranger's life 25 years later. That sounds exactly like a Frederick Bachman premise, you know what I'm saying? And then Atria also sent me a copy of Lisa Jewell's new thriller, Don't Let Him In. And this one is an ARC copy that I have. This book is going on sale June 24th. Oh my gosh, like, I don't even care what this book is about. I don't know, but it's Lisa Jewell. Like, Lisa Jewell is one of my top favorite thriller authors. And I feel like Lisa Jewell is an author that even though she's been publishing thrillers for a really long time, she's one of those authors that, like, she can still surprise me. Like, I still think her thrillers are amazing. They still hold up today. And so I am very excited to have the new Lisa Jewell. I'm like debating if I want to like read this one immediately or if I want to maybe try to save this for the Book Troop book club later this year. Like, I don't know. I'm so torn. And then speaking of thrillers that I'm excited about, Minotaur Books recently sent me Parents Weekend by Alex Finlay. And this one is an ARC copy that I have. This one goes on sale May 2025. And this is one that I am really looking forward to. I mean, Alex Finlay, he's an author that I have like a love-hate relationship with. Like, sometimes I like him and sometimes I don't really care for his stuff. But the book he came out with last year, If Something Happens to Me, that one was one that really impressed me and I actually really enjoyed that one. And the premise for this one does sound pretty interesting because we're following the families of these students. It says it's their exciting first year of college at a small private school in Northern California. It says 5 families gather for a night of dinner and cocktails, but then it says that the college students never show up at dinner. And I guess you're trying to figure out what the heck happened to these 5 college students. Like, I don't know, it sounds like it could be a good time. All right, and then next up, Penguin Random House ended up sending me a few different books. One of them is Diana in Love, which this is one that I'm really excited about because Dirty Diana is the first book in this series. I think it's supposed to be a trilogy of books. And this entire trilogy of books is apparently based off of this #1 fiction podcast, which I had no idea about, but it's just basically about this woman, Diana, who's like exploring her sexuality and her marriage and like trying to figure out what she wants in life. Kind of sounds boring when I pitch it like that, but I really liked the first book. I feel like something that I like about the books in this series so far is that they're just kind of short and sweet. I mean, this book is only like 220 pages, so like you could say like maybe they should have just combined some of these books into one bigger book. Like, they definitely could have done that, but I kind of like the fact that they're kind of short, easy to get through, thought-provoking, interesting. Like, I don't know, I'm really into this series, so I can't wait to read this one. And then they ended up sending me a copy of Isola. I think that's how you say that. And like, of course, when I got this one, I had no idea that it was going to be a Reese Witherspoon book club pick. You know what's so crazy is because this year I said I was not going to read Reese Witherspoon's book club picks this year, and then I'm actually interested in like most of her book club picks this year. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? This is one that does feel like it could be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but again, this is me trying to like push myself a little bit to read things that I usually wouldn't. I actually really don't know too much of what this one's about. I think this one's more like historical fiction, maybe maybe a little bit of romance. It does say that this is inspired by the real life of a 16th century heroine because it's about this woman having a mysterious relationship, I think, and it says when the relationship is discovered, they are brutally punished and abandoned on a small island with no hope for rescue. Sounds like it could be interesting. I don't know. I've been hearing good things about this one. And then Penguin Random House was so kind enough to send me some of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. So we have the first book in the series, which is called Dungeon Crawler Carl. And then we have the second book, which is called Carl's Doomsday Scenario. And then this book is the third book, which is called The Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. And this series is one that I've just been hearing really great things about. They offered to send me all three books, and so I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, hopefully I end up really enjoying Dungeon Crawler Carl, and then I can just blast through the series if I love it. I've just heard such great things about this, and I still have no idea what this story is really about, but this is definitely something that I want to read soon. I actually want to try to read this one in April. I've heard that the audiobook is really great for these, by the way, but it just sucks because the audiobook is an Audible exclusive, and like I don't have Audible anymore, so I don't know if I'm gonna actually listen to these on audio or not. But this is a book that I've just heard described as like some weird sci-fi, maybe a little bit fantasy-ish, but it says the apocalypse will be televised. It says an alien invasion, the destruction of all man-made structures on Earth, and the systematic exploitation of all the survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. Like, I have no idea what that means. I don't know what this is about, but I've heard some really great things about this series. Like, I've heard that it's very addictive and that once you get into it, you just want to blast through the whole series. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think there's like 6 or 7 books in this series. So like, I'm very excited to own the first 3. I really hope that this is going to be my thing. And then Random House also sent me this one, Blackwood's Blue Sky. This is a book that I think is a little bit like light fantasy or like magical realism. I don't exactly know the genre for this. The reason why I was kind of intrigued by this one is because it takes place in Alaska and it's described as being an unforgettable dark fairy tale. And on the bottom here it says that this is a novel with life and death stakes about the love between a mother and a daughter, the allure of a wild life, about what we gain and what it might cost us. Like, it just sounds like something I could be into. I do love mother-daughter relationships in books, and I do love Alaska vibes. Otherwise though, I don't really know anything about what this book is actually about. This could be something that will push me a little bit outside of my comfort zone this year, which is what I want. And then speaking of that author, I also recently got sent The Snow Child. I got sent this one by Black Bay Books, and this one I believe is this author's debut, or this one came before this one. I think this is the new published book, and then this one came out a few years ago. And this one I think is historical fiction, and this one also might have some like light fantasy or like magical realism elements to it. I don't know. But this one also takes place in Alaska in the year 1920, and it says we're following this couple who are childless and they are drifting apart, and it says that they build a child out of snow, but the next morning the snow child is gone and they glimpse a young girl running through the trees. So it's like they made a child out of snow. Oh my gosh, this just sounds like it could be so interesting. I actually don't know, like, to anybody that has read both of these books, like, do you have to read The Snow Child first? Or like, do these take place in the same universe? Because since they both take place in Alaska, I'm just curious, like, if I have to read one before I read the other. I don't know if they're connected in any way, but I'm very excited to give this author a shot. I feel like these books could be right up my alley. Okay, and then next up, St. Martin's Press ended up sending me a copy of The Cut by C.J. Dotson. And this one is an arc that they sent me, but this book does come out in April very soon. I don't know anything about this other than that it says it's a chilling supernatural horror novel set in a mysterious hotel. A woman fleeing her abusive ex finds herself running from more than just her past. It sounds like it's gonna be creepy and weird, and this cover actually gives me full body chills. Like, do we think it's gonna be body horror? Because just from this cover, I'm getting body horror vibes. I'm hoping to read this one very soon, so hopefully I can get a review out to you soon. And then Tor recently sent me 5 different books. One of the ones that I've already talked about is this one called Murder by Memory. This is one that I just read very recently in a reading vlog, so I'll have that linked down below, but I actually really enjoyed this one for the most part. This one is a cozy mystery sci-fi novella. It's only 100 pages and it's the first in a series. It's actually really cool because you're following a character who's like a detective on a ship that's like out in space, but they wake up in a body that's not their body, and then there's like mysterious murder and things happening on the ship and they're trying to investigate what's going on. It also involves some queer characters, which is also really great, and I would highly recommend checking out this book in this series. And then some other stuff that they sent me include White Line Fever by Casey Jones, and this one is actually publishing this month in the month of March, and this one is a thriller horror book that takes place in Oregon. It's about this mysterious road that's called the Devil's Driveway where people mysteriously go missing. So I could definitely be into this road trip horror book, and look at how cool. I love on the parts of the book like this where they put cool pictures like that. Love it. And then they also sent me this one called The Vampire Tapestry. I'm not totally sure, but I think that this one is actually a classic book that's been republished with a new cover. Okay, so this one actually first published in 1980. You know what's so ironic enough though? In this book, we're following a vampire named Edward, who is not your average vampire, according to this description. Like, damn, is every vampire named Edward? Like, what's up with that? It said not only is he a respected anthropology professor, but his condition is biological rather than supernatural. What? Okay, that sounds so interesting. I've been debating if I should do like an entire reading vlog that's like vampire themed because, you know, as you might know, I'm currently in my vampire era right now because recently I've just gotten so obsessed with the Vampire Diaries, and then I'm also obsessed with the originals, and I'm also planning to reread Twilight very soon. So like maybe I can do an entire reading vlog dedicated to some vampire stuff. Let me know if you'd be interested in a vlog like that. And then these next two books, again, you're probably gonna be like, Gabby, what the heck? Like, why are you picking up these books? Because Tor ended up sending me The Incandescent, as well as The Library at Hellbore. This book is publishing in May, and then this one is coming out in July, and both of these books are described as being like light fantasy books, but the reason why they sold me on this is because they said that both of these books have like dark academia vibes, and that is something that I could be into. I think both of these books take place on a school campus of some kind. So this one is described as a sapphic dark academia fantasy. It says we're following this character named Dr. Walden, who is the director of magic at this school and one of the most powerful magicians in England. And it says it's possible the entity Walden most needs to keep her school safe from is herself. Will this be my thing, or will this be completely not my thing? I don't know, but I decided to check it out. And then this is one that I'm really nervous to read because this author, Cassandra Khaw, this is an author that I have read from before, and I really didn't like the other book that I read from this author. But the reason why I decided to check out this book anyways is because it is kind of short. You know, it's less than 300 pages, and it says that this book takes place at the Hellbore Technical Institute for the Gifted. And so I guess at this institute, all of these monsters go to this institute to learn how to function as people, is what I understand from the premise. So it could be cool. Another thriller that I'm really excited about that I've received recently from Knopf is Our Last Resort, which this one is going to be publishing in July, and this is from the same author as The Quiet Tenant, which is a thriller that I read a few years ago now that I really enjoyed. This one says 15 years ago, Frida and her brother escaped a cult. Now her brother is the prime suspect in a murder investigation, and this isn't the first time. I really love this cover, by the way. Like, oh my gosh, this ombre, the sunsetty colors, it's really working for me. So I'm hoping to read this one soon because it sounds so good. And then Pushkin Press ended up sending me a copy of Carmilla, which this one is another classic that has been republished with a new cover, but this one is like a classic because I believe that this one originally published in 1871. Yeah, on the back here it says predating Dracula by 26 years, Carmilla is the original vampire story steeped in sexual tension and gothic romance. And this is another vampire book that I am so excited to check out. So like you see, I have some vampire options here. I could make the vampire vlog happen in the near future. This is one that I'm so excited to read, and look at how stunning this copy is. Like, I love the red sprayed edges. Oh, okay. And then Vintage ended up sending me two different books, one of them being Good Material by Dolly Alderton. This is one that I recently started, and I decided to temporarily DNF just because I wasn't exactly in the mood for it, but this is one that I'm going to keep on my shelves because I do want to come back to this at some point. Because in this book, you're following this guy named Andy, who is a comedian, and he's recently gone through a breakup with this woman named Jen, and it's just about how he's trying to like navigate his life after the breakup and like trying to find, you know, like the meaning in life again. And then they also sent Martyr, which this is a book that was really popular last year. I kept hearing so many people raving about this book, and so I got really curious about it. I don't know exactly if this one would be my thing or not. I think this one is more like literary fiction. It says you're following this guy named Cyrus, who is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss. His mother's plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident. He's a drunk, an addict, and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him to examine the mysteries of his past. I don't know if this one would be my thing or not, but I decided to pick it up because I want to give it a shot. And then Bramble ended up sending me a copy of Jilted by Vi Keeland. This one is a romance book that's going on sale in May, and this is one that I'm very excited about because Vi Keeland is an author that I have really been enjoying lately. This author has published so many romance books in the past that I have read, and then recently this author's been publishing some thriller stuff that I've also been into. But this one sounds like it's gonna be so cute because it involves a wedding. It says after her fiance abandoned her at the altar last year, her dream job at Bride magazine has turned into a recurring nightmare. And it says the bridezilla at her latest assignment has somehow roped her into filling in for a missing bridesmaid. And of course, she gets paired with the most gorgeous groomsman. She thought she would never see him again, and then it turns out he's her boss's son. And it's only like 260 pages. Oh my god, I love that. Another romance that I'm excited to check out that I got sent recently by Dell is this one called The Fake Out. And this is one that I'm I'm excited for just because it's a hockey romance. I really love reading about hockey romances for some reason. And the premise of this one cracks me up because it says an NHL staffer gets revenge on her ex by fake dating his rival teammate, but soon discovers her very real feelings. So like, that sounds fun. She works for the NHL, and so she's gonna get revenge on her ex by like dating his rival teammate. I think that's so juicy. And then HarperCollins ended up sending me this thriller called Killer Potential. This one is going on sale at the end of March, and this one says it's an edge-of-your-seat thrill ride that follows two unlikely fugitives, an SAT tutor who finds her rich employers brutally murdered, and the bound woman she frees from their mansion. What the heck? It says that this is a debut novel perfect for fans of The Guest and My Sister the Serial Killer. So it's safe to say I am intrigued by this one. Like, what do you mean? One of my friends on my Patreon, That Cheesy Scrub, recently sent me Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. And this is a book that I've been so curious about for quite some time. It says 10 days, 8 suspects, 6 cities, 5 authors, 3 bodies, 1 trip to die for. I love that this is one of those like thriller mystery books that follows an author. And this one takes place in Italy, I think. So it just sounds like it's gonna be a good time. I really do want to read this book this summer because everything about this is screaming summer to me. And then Marlana recently sent me The Lamb by Lucy Rose. And this is a horror book that I have been so interested in reading. I've just been hearing such great things about this from everybody who's been reading it. This is a contemporary queer folktale about a mother and daughter living in the woods. I think this one might involve cannibalism or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I've just been hearing so many people raving about this that it's got me so interested. I'm actually hoping to read this one very soon in the month of March. And then my friend Brittany, for my birthday, she got me a copy of When We Lost Our Heads. And this is a book that I like dropped everything and read immediately because I couldn't help myself. Because this is a book that was put on my radar recently from my friend Lexi after I did that video of like 10 booktubers controlling my TBR. This is one that she recommended, and since Lexi recommended me my favorite book that I've read this year, I was like, okay, I have to take her other recommendation and read it right away. And this is one that I did end up really enjoying. I gave this one around 3.5 out of 5 stars. This one is kind of like a historical fiction, kind of like literary fiction kind of feel to it. It takes place in 19th century Montreal, and we just kind of follow these 2 women as they are navigating their complicated relationship with each other. There's a lot of talk in this book about feminism and all kinds of things. It was a wild time. Okay, and then before I get to all of the books that I've bought recently, I wanted to quickly show you a little library haul because I always want to support my local library and I would encourage you to do the same. And some books that I've recently picked up from my library include Heartbreak for Hire as well as A Special Place for Women. I actually just picked up both of these books recently because I have my Patreon readathon for Screaming Color coming up very soon, and I just wanted to have some more options with pink on the cover, so I just decided to give both of these a go. I have read a book from this author before, or maybe 2 books from this author before, and this one just sounded kind of interesting. And then Heartbreak for Hire is a romance that I've just had my eyes on for a long time. I don't really know anything about these, but I decided to pick them up. And then this one from my library, I've never heard of this before, but it's How to Find Love in a Bookshop. Oh my god, does this not look like the cutest thing ever? And look at how cute the spine is, so pink. On the back here, it just says, the enchanting story of a bookshop, its devoted new owner, and faithful readers, and the extraordinary power of books to heal the heart. This just sounds like it could be really cute. I've just been in such a mood lately to read books that are about bookstores or like bookshop owners. I don't know why, like that's just been something I've been wanting to read more of this year. So like yesterday, coming across this book in the library, oh my god, I was like, chef's kiss. Hopefully this will be everything, and I can't wait to read this soon. All right, and then the last stack of books that I have here, these are all books that I've bought within these last couple of weeks. One of the books that I picked up from Aardvark recently is Death of the Author, which this is one that I've been very excited to read. I'm actually hoping to read this one in the month of March, or if not by April. This is one that I've heard that it's kind of sci-fi, but that it's also more kind of like literary fiction or contemporary fiction leaning. It says we follow a disabled Nigerian American woman who pens a wildly successful sci-fi novel, but as her fame rises, she loses control of the narrative. I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds very interesting to me, and so I can't wait to check out this book soon, especially because I'm trying to read more like sci-fi type of stuff this year. And then I also recently bought The Thursday Murder Club as well as The Shadow of the Wind, because these were 2 books that I read for my 10 booktubers controlling my TBR video, which if you haven't seen that, I can link that down below. But these were 2 books that I read for that video that I either didn't own or I wasn't able to get them from the library in time, so I did end up buying both of these, but unfortunately, both of these books just weren't really for me personally. Like, I'm definitely not the reader for either of these books, so I'm probably going to be unhauling these ones pretty soon actually, which is unfortunate. yet. I also recently bought a copy of Ready or Not by Cara Bastone because this is a book that I just read recently. I read it for a romance reading vlog that I posted recently, which I can also link down below. And this was such a 5-star for me, like new favorite. I actually read it on my Kindle because I checked it out from my library and sent it to my Kindle. And I loved it so much that I just immediately went online and had to order it because I just loved it. And I wanted to like own it and mark it up, which I did. As soon as I got this in the mail, I like went crazy with my annotations and I just, oh my god, I love this so much. It just really worked for me. And then some other books that I've picked up recently include some of my upcoming book troop picks, which is Listen to Your Sister. This is the book troop pick for the month of March. So I will be reading this one very soon and I'm excited about it because this one is more of like a social horror book from what I've heard. And then Tell Me What You Did is going to be our April book troop pick. So I'm going to be reading this one very soon as well. And this one is a thriller that involves a podcast. It sounds like it's going to be really fun. So if you want to join in on the book troop discussions, both of these are going to be our next 2 picks. And then these last 3 books are all used books that I've picked up recently. These 2 came from a half price books. I recently got The Last Love Note by Emma Gray, as well as Pachinko. Pachinko is a book that I've heard about for such a long time. Like so many people recommend this book to me and they say that they think that I would love it. This one, I don't even know too much about it other than that it's a historical fiction novel. It takes place in the early 1900s. It says 4 generations of a poor, proud immigrant family fight to control their destinies, exiled from a homeland they never knew. This one is definitely longer than I was expecting it to be. Oh my gosh, it's almost 500 pages. But this is one that I'm hoping to check out eventually and I'm hoping that I love it. Also, The Last Love Note by Emma Gray is one that I'm excited to read because even though I didn't love the book Pictures of You by this author, this is another one that I've been hearing about for a long time that I thought could be right up my alley, and I found the Book of the Month copy, which was also pretty cool. And then the last book that I recently picked up from a used bookstore is this one, Night Will Find You. And this one is a thriller that I've heard some really great things about from some of my friends who have read it. It sounds like it does have a little bit of like a sci-fi element to this, or like that there's a little bit more happening than just a thriller. It says, when she was 10, Vivi, daughter of a known psychic, saved a boy's life by making an impossible prediction. Now she's an astrophysicist in Texas, and she's tried to leave her visions behind. It says the boy that she saved has become a cop who continues to believe she can see things no one else can. And then he begs her for help on the high-profile cold case of a kidnapped girl. It says she's forced to team up with the detective. I don't know, it sounds like it could be kind of cool. I've also heard that there's like some good romance in this as well. So I was just intrigued, you know, I saw it at the used bookstore and I was like, why not give it a shot? I've been hearing some good things about this one. But wow, those are all of the books in this book haul. Wow, it was a really big book haul. There was so many exciting things in this. I can't wait. You'll have to let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what you think of any of them. And also let me know what you think of the vampire vlog idea, because clearly I have some vampire books stacking up. You know, I still do have the book Interview with a Vampire. That's another one that I've been really excited to read. So I have at least 3 vampire books just sitting around begging for me to make a vampire vlog. So let me know if that's something that you would like to see from me. But thank you so much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!